All right, guys, welcome to episode number 21 of the Friday Fraudsters. And this episode is titled Crop Goes the Weasel and the Mayflower Mess. Kelly, how are you?
I am awesome. My podcast just hit 7,500 downloads, so I'm way excited. And it's summer, and it's hot here. So
Nice, but that's a big milestone, though. 7,500.
yeah,
Awesome. So, Joe, how was camping?
Oh, camping was great. It was an awesome weekend. Fantastic. Besides the fact that there was a little bit of, I don't know, did you hear that Denver, Colorado was like the worst smoke or the worst, what's the word I'm looking for? Pollution.
air quality
Yeah,
index,
air quality.
AQI.
Yes,
Ah,
least worst air quality internationally over the weekend.
whoa.
Yeah, like supposedly number one in international. So for air quality. So anyway, otherwise,
That's not good.
no, yeah. It's made a lot of people I know really ill, so not good.
Sorry, but it's coming from Oregon and Northern California.
I know. Thanks, Kelly. I appreciate
Oh, wow. You know, I actually like going camping. The only thing I don't like about it is that mosquitoes really love me.
it. You're so sweet.
But you know what? So where I am, mosquitoes are like this big. I mean, you can see them from a mile off. They are huge in Alabama. That's the one thing, well, one of the things that I don't miss about it. But you know what? We've got people coming into the room, and you know what to do, guys. Drop the emoji into the chat that signifies the mood that you are in right now. You know what's really interesting? Hal has a watch. He's surprised, and there's a hurricane
Yeah,
or
Fred.
bad weather.
Fred, how you feeling about Fred there, Hal? I thought that was probably an interesting hurricane name.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
guys know the fun fact that people don't pay attention to the severity of hurricanes when they're named females?
Really?
Really?
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I'm going to see if I can find it and I'll drop it in the thing.
So the hurricanes are sexist.
Yep.
Together.
Michelle says she loves the intro, and she said that it's been terrible here in Denver.
Yep, Michelle feels my pain, I bet.
Yeah. Now, Hal says that there are Texas-sized mosquitoes in Alabama. But as it relates to Hurricane Fred, he said, right said Fred. I guess the hurricane is too sexy for, okay, never mind. Some people won't even get that joke. Michelle is in a good mood today, and Leslie's back with us, and Leslie's in a pretty decent mood as well. Hal said, no comment about ignoring females.
Hal knows better. His wife would get mad at him if he said anything.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I've got a question for you guys. So, Joe, what's your favorite wine? You like red wine, white wine? What's your wine taste?
I'm a red gal, and my fave is a good cab.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. All right. And what about you, Kelly? What's your favorite kind of wine?
I am not a wine drinker. I'm a
You're
beer
not a wine
drinker
drinker.
or a scotch drinker, but I'm not really a wine drinker.
Oh boy.
Why? Why?
Why?
Inquiring minds want to know, right? You know, so let me tell you guys a story. Let's go back into dreamland. When I was a kid, I did not know that wine was made out of grapes. Had no idea.
I see where you're going with this now.
Yeah. When I found out that wine was made out of grapes, you know, I had to pitch my case, right? But my home was always a dry home. There was never any alcohol in the home. I didn't even know what wine was, but I pleaded my case. I need to be able to drink wine. The answer was no, obviously. And I said, well, but wine is made from grapes. And I eat grapes, and grapes are good for you. So if grapes are good for you, then wine should be good for you. That was the case that I pleaded.
Like it.
It didn't work, but I guess now you guys know why I'm actually an auditor today, because it's that critical thinking, right? And that reasoning that you have to have. So if you guys can tell me in the chat, what is your favorite wine? Are you a red or a white? Do you like the cab like Joe? Do you like it dry? Do you like it sweet? I prefer red and sweet personally, even though I don't drink wine that often. Now, I know people are probably saying, why is he talking about wine? But we'll get there in just a minute. Dan must like the way I pled my case to drink wine as a kid because he is laughing. Seriously, though, I thought, if wine, if grapes are good for you and wine is made out of grapes, then surely I should be able to drink wine.
I'm actually really surprised my son hasn't come up with this yet, because his latest is now that he's double digits, he should get to try everything. And yeah, so we've had to kind of nip that one in the bud.
See, double digits is very significant. And guys, Lokisha's with us today. He said he missed a couple of sessions of the Friday Frosters and his world was feeling empty. My friend, we were empty without you here. Michelle likes Diet Coke, and Dan says once a year, a glass of Merlot. Dan, what's the occasion? Why once a year? Is it wedding anniversary or, birthday?
Maybe he just had it. His class ended, I know, for the semester. Maybe he just
Dealing with students, yeah, you may just need some wine. Loki says, unfortunately, he is a teeter-toddler. And Pozo says that red wine, it depends. Moscato or Merlot? Moscato. All right, guys. Did you all also know that a majority of the food that we eat in the U.S., it is heavily subsidized by the government, including grapes? Now, when I say subsidized, let's talk about this for one moment. Farmers get what's called crop insurance. Now, that's for most agricultural producers. And what it is it protects against, well, either a loss of their crops due to natural disasters such as hail, drought, floods, that kind of stuff, or if the prices of agricultural commodities, fluctuate. So with that said, there are two general types of insurance. One is called crop yield and the other one is called crop revenue insurance. On average, the federal government subsidizes about 62% of the premium for these farmers. On average. In 2019, crop insurance policies covered almost 380 million acres, not dollars now, but acres. Now, that is approximately 90% of the U.S. crops, the acreage of crops in the U.S. It primarily covers four crops: corn, cotton, soybeans. That makes up about 70%. However, grapes, my friend, are covered. So some of the wine that you have may be subsidized by the federal government. So some of you are probably still wondering, why in the world is this guy talking about grapes? And why is he talking about wine? And why did he ask Joe and Kelly what their favorite wine was? Are we just luscious? Is that what the Friday Frosters has come to? No, it has not. Like I said earlier, the U.S. Department of Agriculture actually has a risk management agency. That agency is responsible for providing some of the insurance premiums or the subsidies for the insurance premiums that farmers have. So now, with all of that said, let's just talk about today's story, because crop goes the weasel. My friends, we've hit a whole new low this week. So there's a guy who's a fruit broker. His name is Ralph Hackett. Ralph, again, was a fruit broker, and he was working with a local farmer out in California. So this farmer got with Ralph, and Ralph was the intermediary who helped that farmer sell his grapes to end users, or probably to grocery stores and things like that. They used table grapes. They sold table grapes. From 2012 to 2015, Ralph, well, he colluded with the farmer. And what he did was he instructed one of his employees to provide false documentation to the farmer, basically understating the amount of crops that were sold through the brokerage firm. What that farmer then went and did was he, well, went and filed paperwork with the federal government and claimed insurance, saying that he sold less than what he was insured for. So essentially, the farmer double dipped on his table grapes based on fake documentation that he got from his broker. So, crop goes the weasel, the fraud weasel, that is. What do you guys think about this, Joe and Kelly? Because this one is pretty interesting.
So I picked grapes when I was like a little kid, not a little kid, but like 10. My friend, her family had one of the first vineyards in Oregon. And so I picked grapes, and they still have a vineyard. And my dad was a commodities trader, so I knew a lot about crop insurance fraud. And like I just posted in the chat, wherever money is, there is fraud. And, farmers can commit fraud, and it's money. And, the thing is with like farmers, it's feast or famine. And we have to have food. So I understand the whole reason behind the government, insuring it. So, but like, I don't really think of farmers as fraudsters. I think of them on tractors, and they've got cowboy hats, and, if we looked at like the Gallup poll, as far as honesty, I would think farmers they do it because they love the land. They love the work. But at the end of the day, it's money. So, blah, blah.
Where there's money, there's fraud. Yeah. Well, yeah. I only have two things to note. The first thing is, I love this title, fruit broker. I don't know why. I just really like that. But that's a total aside. No, I think I'm with Kelly. It's kind of, you're always kind of shocked, but not shocked. So, sorry, not sorry, shocked, not shocked, because it seemed easy to do. Again, like in reading this, my mind always goes to how many more times has this happened that we don't know it's happening. And I think it may not be the farmers, it's the middleman, it's the broker. Maybe it's that title is just unethical to me sometimes. The broker, tends to be the one brokering the unethical transactions. I think maybe we need to hashtag no more brokers. I don't know, but something. I'm just surprised more farmers don't get taken advantage of and see this loophole being provided to them more than this.
Well, here's what got me on this one. Farmers, their margins are already slim as it is, but apparently they were doing fairly well because they sold enough to not be able to claim insurance. So what was happening in this farmer's life? Did something happen? Did a relative get sick? Like, what happened to make you want to commit the fraud? Or is it the fact that prices have seen such an adjustment that even at a quote unquote market rate, you still can't make any money? Like, what's the underlying? Now I'm trying to get into the psyche of a criminal, right? But what happened? Because you obviously made the sales. You asked your broker to give you false documentation. So this was actually on the farmer initiating this. So you asked your broker to give you false documentation to lower the amount of sales so that you could file a false insurance claim. And what we're talking about now, though, is the broker who was arrested and charged. I don't know. I tried to look up what happened to the farmer, but they've protected the farmer's name. I don't know if his case is still pending.
So what else is really interesting? And this is about insurance fraud. And people are like, well, in this case, it's government insurance fraud. So it's, I pay my taxes. They feel there's no victim. This is a really big thing in insurance fraud. I paid into the system for so many years. There's no victim. Like, it's not costing anyone any money. And I think that, people, whereas there's that distance between you and quote, the victim, which they say there is no victim. It's the government, the big evil government. And, they screwed me the last time, that whatever. So I think there's so much of that in insurance fraud because, Dan, fraud against the government, quote, doesn't hurt anyone. And so I just, the other thing is this guy sold he's no longer active in the business. He sold out. So yeah. And I'll put this other story in the comments, but so he sold out. But the lack of victim, that mentality with insurance fraud is so prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Dan said, careful, I have 2 farms. Oh,
And we're going to start watching you.
exactly.
Doesn't this one remind you guys of the one from a week or 2 ago about the schools faking the number of students? Because that was
Right.
another very similar scenario. So, so many of these frauds are paralleling each other. It surprises me every time we talk about it. But across so many industries and different types of people, we've talked about ages, genders, everything. And so it's good to see this variety. But I thought that was interesting.
Absolutely. Now, Hal said one of the many sad things is that so much subsidized farm product goes to waste and is never eaten with all the hunger issues in the world. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then Jacina says, does the broker get a portion of the subsidy? You know, I don't think so. I think it's purely insurance payments being paid to the farmer. So I'm guessing and assuming that the farmer must have given the broker a kickback. Otherwise, why would you do it as a broker? But yeah, I see what you're getting at, Jacina. That makes a whole lot of sense. And Joe with the E says that was his question. Like, what's the motivation behind it? Hal says farming is big industry for most crops, so the small farmer cannot compete. So fraud becomes a desperation option for some smaller farmers to feed their families. Another sad situation. I agree 100% with that.
Yeah.
Well,
100%.
another thing, it says at the other individual's request, Hackett instructed one of his employees to provide altered records to the individual that underreported the amount of table grapes. Okay, I'm just going to make a crazy guess right now that Hackett asked a clerk, who's probably a female, let's get into the gender. And so what are the chances that there's a really crappy tone at the top? What are the chances?
Well,
Yeah.
they rationalized. I knew it was wrong, but my boss told me to do it. So it's
Yeah.
on his head, right? And it is his head on the chopping block, obviously, because he's being accused of aiding and abetting, and is agreed to pay what $650,000 in criminal restitution for helping with this. So I guess the only positive I see out of this is even if he didn't get a financial gain, a kickback, then he should feel even sillier, stupider for doing this, because he got caught. And it was just pure unethical behavior, let alone unethical behavior for a monetary gain, which we know it probably was in one way or another. It had to have been in my mind. However,
Yeah.
some people are just helping people be bad. I mean, that exists out there too.
It does. Well, and if we go back to what Kelly was saying, though, I was thinking the same thing, Kelly. It was a clerk and probably a woman. And she just did as she was told, kind of like either last week or the week before last when we talked about oh no, that was even a few weeks further back when we talked about the military housing, where we had the news clip and the lady said she simply did what she was told. I actually talked about that last week on my on Audit Bites. That was what we talked about, and we showed those clips again. Yes, that's a shameless plug for my show, Audit Bites, the only live show about internal auditing here on LinkedIn every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m.
I missed it, but I watched it. It was great. You did great.
Oh, thank you. I was nervous.
You said you did bad, but you did great. It was great. I had to check it out because I wanted to see Robert bad, quote unquote. It didn't happen, folks. I hate to burst your bubble. He wasn't bad.
Well, I appreciate that. It felt bad. But, so here's the other thing that struck me as interesting in this situation. They were saying that they're estimating the loss to the insurance company was $656,000, $656,834. And that is the exact amount of restitution that the broker had to pay, not the farmer who actually got the money. So to me, there's more to this story. There has to be something more behind it. Either the broker was the initiator, because it doesn't seem like the farmer is being punished at all unless his trial is coming up next and they're still investigating him. But this seems odd.
Yeah, maybe it sounds like maybe I jumped the gun blaming the broker because it's the broker who's getting really that this main focus of the article that we looked at
Yeah.
was about. But yeah, like you said, there's got to be some reason behind all this.
And we may
Well,
never know.
and the other thing it says, according to court documents, Hackett was a member and manager of a Central Valley fruit broker through which the other individuals sold various crops. Okay, what are the chances, big stretch here, that someone else did something else wrong? And can you imagine the fear that is going through that community right now? Like, rightfully. I mean, it only happened one time with one person, and no. I'm going
Well,
with and no.
Unemployment fraud, when we talked about unemployment fraud with the governments, and then the governments tried to get smarter and lock down the process. In my mind, I think somebody already asked in the comments or the chat, how is this regulated? Who's watching this? I mean, what are the audits behind the scenes of what crop insurance claims are being submitted versus, I mean, are we doing site visits? Are we checking out the crops? Are we just looking at what happened to the area? Hurricane or, whatever, seasonally, weather-wise, what all do they do? What are those controls, those checks that they perform before?
yeah, that was.
Well, and it didn't say how this was investigated. I'm going with a tip.
Oh yeah, it probably the poor secretary who was made to change the numbers. Most likely, Jacina says, "Wouldn't this be avoided by random checks of crops sold by weight? Who regulates this?" Yeah, exactly. Here's the other thing, though. All right, so I left out a small piece of the puzzle. No. Uh, did you guys also see the part where, so the broker gave the broker's assistant gave the information to the farmer. The farmer then gave it to the federal government for insurance purposes. The government then called the assistant to verify that the numbers were correct, because the broker gave the government her name, his or her name, and his or her name only to speak to. So when the government called to verify that the numbers were actually accurate, they spoke to the person who fudged the numbers to begin with at the broker's office.
Man, it really seems like he's throwing somebody under the bus in this entire situation. The ethical bus.
Yeah. So Joe with the E says the broker may have played on the farmer being down on his luck. Yeah. So to your point, Joe, this was the thought that I had. Like Kelly said, he was a part of a huge network where he was brokering deals for a lot of different farmers. It could be that he went ahead and pled to the 656,000 in restitution because he's made a whole lot more than that. And if he pleads right now, I mean, double jeopardy, right? You can't be convicted of the same crime. So you go ahead, you plead out now, you take this loss. In the meanwhile, you still have a few million in the bank. So when you come out of jail, you still have your few million.
That doesn't work with different clients, though, does it? I know the
I don't know.
double jeopardy thing. Like that sounded so great.
I know, right? But I don't know.
However, like I don't think that would count as the same crime if he was doing it across the, and I agree. Kelly, was it you that just said, like, the other farmers in that area are probably that either use him or, they're probably shaken.
Yeah. Now, Pozo says the government had poor controls too, because the government employees didn't verify they were communicating with authorized parties at the farmer's business. Yeah. I mean, they thought they were doing the right thing because they actually called the broker, but the broker is the one who provided the false documents. If it had been the farmer that had altered them without, the broker, then yeah. So now everybody's raining on my parade. It sounded good. I didn't know. Dan said separate crimes. Yeah, you're right. But it did sound good though, didn't it?
It did.
But what about conspiracy or RICO?
Ooh. Yeah.
Al said insurance Ponzi scheme.
I mean, essentially that's probably what it is. But in all seriousness, though, he may have just thought if he pleads this one out, they'll just stop looking because they already got the bad guy. You know?
You never know what their mindset is, for sure.
Because it just seems odd that he's the broker, if I'm reading the story correct, I know he provided false documents to the farmer, but at whose request? Like it seems like the farmer would have approached them first, unless it was, like Hal said, an insurance Ponzi scheme where he had this deal with a bunch of different farmers, which then means I would plead out and hope that they stop looking. So anyway, yeah, this is a weird one where
Yeah, this one's weird because it has the government involved. So to me, right? Like, I mean, normal when we're talking normal healthcare fraud, we're talking, patients, doctors, and the health insurance companies. Now we're talking farmers, insurance broker, government, and it's like it's just different. It's different players. So to me, it seems like the middle player is always the guilty party. So like it's doctors defrauding the insurance companies, it's this broker defrauding the government. But it's, I think we hit it on the head at first with what does he truly get out of it? So that, maybe he and this farmer are best buds and like, they're splitting this extra government subsidy that they're getting. Who knows? But yeah.
Well, to add icing on the cake here, this happened between 2012 and 2015. So now, if in 2021 you're required to pay this money back, he does not have this money. I mean, it's at least, the money that came from this scheme, he's probably spending it all. But yeah, I just thought this was an interesting case because we've now found fraud in the grape farming industry.
Yes, we have.
So I had this idea the other day. Speaking of in grape farming, I did stump the embezzlement jock a long time ago, put an industry that hasn't been embezzled and you get a prize. And remember, it was snake wrangling, which isn't an industry, but it was a lawyer who said that. So I had to be careful and send him the stupid mug anyway. But so I was driving by a business in Bend that I know was ripped off. And I had this idea that I want to go around in my little community and take pictures of every business that I know who has been embezzled. So people can, I just think the visualization of seeing that it's Dent Instruments, it's a hairdresser downtown, it's my water district, it's like
plumbing.
Huh?
Our friend that plumbing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like to be able to see that it hits like grapes. Who thinks that grapes are like, yeah. We think of wine and good times. We don't think of fraud.
Especially if you're a 10-year-old kid who wants to drink wine. I mean, it's just grapes.
Again, that's why I love this show, because it's educational for us even. And this was the first I've been reading about crop insurance. Why? Because Robert sent us a link to read about crop insurance. Now, something in our toolbox. Interesting.
It's just so weird. Yeah. So, hey guys, check this out. We are halfway through the program. I think that this is a perfect opportunity to talk about the fraud retreat.
Yay. I love it. We already have signups like literally rolling in. I was telling Kelly I was really excited because a year in advance, like I know that's a lot for you guys to commit to right now. So we definitely appreciate it because it keeps our spirits up with the way of the world today. Because I know it's kind of unknown right now, but we're all staying very positive that next August 4th and 5th, you guys can all come to Denver, Colorado and be in person, where I think we've convinced Rob fully to come so we could actually do Friday Fraudster if we're still doing it, which, most likely we will be on Friday, August 5th next year. I think Dan Ramey, he's on. I think we've finally convinced him to come as well from Houston. So anyway, we'd love to see all your smiling faces next year.
Well, and what's interesting is like, this was before COVID happened, but Joe and I were talking about this retreat and I was like, I think people want sort of bespoke events, and then COVID happened. And that's the kind of events we're getting because we don't want to be in Vegas with 1,000 other people. So we were ahead of the curve, but we were doing it for a different reason. We wanted to do it so we could really, really connect with the attendees and have the attendees connect with each other. So again, we're ahead of the curve, guys.
Yes. Michelle just said, come to Colorado. Michelle will be there. She has already signed up. So come see us. It'll be great.
Nice. I'm actually looking forward to it. Denver, you guys are having it in Denver, right? Or right outside of the city?
It's outside. It's right by. It's at our Gaylord Rockies Resort and
Oh, yeah, that's
Convention Center.
nice. Ooh.
It's right by the airport, which I wanted to do for convenience for people flying in because our airport is a little bit far east. So
Yes.
easy trip from the airport, probably 20 minutes into downtown from there.
Yeah, I love Denver. It's one of my favorite places. So I'm already gearing up for August the 5th, 2022, August the 4th and 5th, 2022, the Fraud Retreat. You can go to fraudretreat.com if you want to know more information and if you want to book your place.
Yep.
So, guys, while we're also here, check this out. Audit Bites, brand new podcast, live show. It's just me, no Joe and Kelly. Sorry, guys. But this week or next week, coming up, the title will be 5 Reasons Clients Ignore Auditors' Advice. 5 reasons clients ignore auditors' advice. It will be Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And much like the Friday Froster, you can get CPE credit just for watching a podcast with little old me. So that should be fun. Glad to see everyone in when you guys can make it to the Friday Frosters or to Audit Bites, or you can catch us on your favorite podcasting platform as long as that favorite podcasting platform is not Apple. You can go to FridayFroster.com or AuditBites.com to find out more information. And the last thing we want to talk about is coming up, Joe and I, Joe without the E, Joe and I will be presenting at what is that, New Jersey chapter for the Institute of Internal Auditors?
Long Island. Don't
Long
offend
Island, I'm sorry. Ooh, sorry, Joe.
me.
Oops. Joe with the E. Ooh, Long Island chapter for the
Great
Institute of Internal
chapter.
Auditors.
Great chapter.
It is a great chapter, but what is the date? It is September 17th, coming up real soon this year. 8 hours of action-packed CPEs, all for $150. The link is on the graphic down here. If you would like to attend, it is a virtual event, so it's open to any and everyone who wants to come. Come and mingle with the Long Island folks. Joe, what are you talking about at this conference?
I'm actually doing my presentation that is called Auditing Around the Corner, which I'm going to start by saying I don't love the title of that. So I always start my presentation by saying, help me retitle this, because I think auditing is looking backwards sometimes. And we as auditors need to be looking to the future. So that's really what it's about. How can we be around the corner, spot those inflection points like our management needs to ahead of time. And so it's going to be really about getting in front of risks. So I'm super excited about it.
Now I'm doing a session that I've titled Activate Your Auditing Awesomeness. It's a really good session. I really like it. So you should come just to hear that alone. Also, Hania McCarthy will be there and Seth Peterson. We're going to tell you what they're talking about next week because we're going to plug this again next week, obviously, right? I mean, we have to.
Yes, and I'm going to put the link in the comments too, just in case anybody wants those 8 CPE this year. I know
Awesome.
it's a reporting year for us in Colorado, so I know a lot of people that are looking for those last minute CPEs.
So. Please forgive me, Joe. Joe, Long Island!
Yellow.
Exclamation.
Told you.
It was a joke, Joe. I just wanted to see if you were paying attention. I wanted to see if you were still here. And then Joe said, we're not all bad. And Joe also said he can't wait. Lokesh said that's an interesting topic. Yes, Lokesh, tune in. Wednesday, 12:30 p.m. 5 reasons why clients ignore auditors. Now, Heather is saying she's going to miss Wednesday, blame her VP on scheduling a meeting. Oh. I think you should just miss the meeting. I mean, you'll learn more here with me. And then Joe said it's okay. Joe with an E said it's okay. He is from Brooklyn. All right. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk about the Mayflower mess. Now, when I say the Mayflower, what do you think about, Joe, Kelly? What do you guys think about?
What you put on the screen.
Pilgrims.
Yeah, the Pilgrims. It's kind of what I think about too. That's why I put a ship up here.
Mhm.
But apparently, there's a city called Mayflower, and a court clerk was sentenced to 72 months probation after she admitted embezzling money from the city. Now, this one is a weird one because apparently there was an audit that occurred in 2017, and this is in Arkansas, by the way, Mayflower, Arkansas. Apparently, there was an audit that occurred in 2017, and some people thought that as a result of the audit that this woman had stolen something like $2 million. That was the initial amount that came out. And so I was trying to reconcile how if you stole $2 million, you got 72 months of probation. Then the rest of the story came out, and apparently it wasn't $2 million. It was somewhere around maybe $4,000 or $5,000. But she's 63 years old, and she pleaded guilty to theft of property, tampering with physical evidence, and abuse of an office while she was a clerk. It's pretty bad when we can't trust our civil servants. But here's some interesting things that happened within this particular case. They were saying that the auditors reviewed documentation from January 2010 until August 14th of 2014. They looked at a receipt book and found that there were several pages missing, and they looked like they had been tampered with. That receipt book was used to document payments for whatever at the clerk of courts, right? For various citizens in the town. Now, here's where it got really interesting. It was reported to authorities that citizens would often pay their fines in cash. Okay, some people still do that to this young woman, but they would also do it while she was outside on her smoke break or while she was working in the flower bed.
Uh-huh.
That,
That was one of the, I love pulling out the best like liners from some of these. That was one of them. I pulled out.
So I'm gonna stop right here for a moment. Joe, Kelly,
Well, first of all, we know she didn't just steal whatever those 3,200, 4,000, because it was just too easy for these same reasons we always talk about. It says her responsibilities included maintaining all of the records, accepting payments, and making the bank deposits. So who wouldn't, in this great fraud triangle world of opportunity, not start putting the cash in her pocket when she didn't even have to write it down because she controlled it? So anyway, it's the typical control breakdown here, segregation of duties breakdown.
And her probation included a bar on casino gambling. Imagine that. Imagine.
Imagine that she probably had some history of that. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Did you, maybe you're going to get to this, maybe I'm jumping the gun. My third and final pull out from this article was she was also seen behind the house burning documents. So like, okay, we talk about parking lot audits. How about parking lot bonfire audits there, Kelly?
I missed that, but today I posted on LinkedIn about another arson. And oh my God, like people think that like that's crazy. There's a town that's about 100 miles from me where she burnt down the little municipality. Like arson and embezzlement, we have red collar crime. I think we need to have like arson.
Orange.
Well, yeah.
Burning of documents, destroying documents, buildings, like getting rid of evidence.
Yeah. Oh my God. That is so, I missed that part, but I had posted this morning about another embezzlement turned arson. So yeah, great.
It could be an orange fraud, Kelly, because
Hal says the Anderson shredders were not available. Now, for some of you guys who are a little younger in age, Arthur Anderson, when that consulting firm went down, They did a lot of shredding, so that's what Hal is referring to. I know sometimes if you have to explain the joke, maybe it's not funny, but we may have some people that don't know history, or they may be a little too young to remember Arthur Anderson.
Okay, so shameless plug for my episode this week with David Weber, and there is a reference to Arthur Anderson, and it's like a bone-chilling story. So it's a really good episode because David Weber has finally proven statistically with United States Sentencing Commission data that women embezzle more often. However, hashtag men steal more. So it's a really, really good episode. And like, I wanted to like blow up the whole internet with that, but I figure that people will hate me for that. But there's a whole Arthur Anderson, like you got to listen to the episode this week with David Weber, behavioral accountant. And I got him to change his LinkedIn profile.
Can I pick on another firm that I've picked on recently in a blog? Because it's not just Anderson shredders. So this is McKinsey. Talked about them before. By 2018, senior executives at McKinsey were becoming aware that they might face liability for their opioid work. So defending Purdue Pharma and doing work with them. A leader in the firm's pharmaceutical practice wrote to another partner, "It probably makes sense to have a quick conversation with the risk committee to see if we should be doing anything other than eliminating all of our documents and emails." Like, oh, caught. Why would you put that in an email? Number one, you're an idiot. Number two, we're still talking about this, eliminating as in shredding or burning documentation from our work. Why are we doing the work to begin with, people? Why?
Yep.
Why?
Absolutely. So now, there is more. It was reported to authorities. No. So allegedly, she falsified the amount of money that she collected from the public. And then they were saying that they figured that out because her computer entries never matched the bank deposits. Now, here's the thing. If she had control over everything, wouldn't you have sense enough to shave off money from the top and then make the bank deposit the amount that you put into the computer? But that kind of ties into what Kelly said. Part of her probation was to stay away from casinos. They can't verify the amount of money, but they're thinking it's about $4,000. So it went from $2 million to $4,000. $4,000 is like one trip to the casino. So it's probably more, right? Let's just be real pragmatic about that. It's probably a whole lot more, which still begs the anyway. I won't get into that next part I was about to say.
Bottom line is they can't quantify it because they have no records. I mean, they really don't have any records. We're never going to know in this case.
Except if the casino, I bet they've got records on her.
Yeah.
But we're never going to see, those will never come to the light of day.
No, we've talked about that. What does the fiduciary role of casinos and frauds? We know that they don't have one, supposedly. So.
And David said on the podcast this week, he's like, casino, best way to launder money, watch Ozarks, and which I have. So yeah, oh my God.
Speaking of which, is there another season of that coming out soon? Did you guys all watch Ozarks? That was
of course, yes. It was great.
Yeah, I think
there is another season coming out. Yeah. Now, Hal says you don't have to be smart to embezzle. You just have to not get caught.
Oh, good.
And then Dan says the 1099G tells the story.
I love it.
Okay, so.
But
as Joe
guess
just
where
said,
she went from there to another agency.
Oh, yep, that's right. Yeah, yep.
And I put her LinkedIn in the chat. She went to like the cosmetology licensing bureau.
Yeah. So another state agency in the same general area hired her even after they let her go at the other job. But wait, she doesn't still work there though, does she? Even now? Okay. I was about to say, because
what does her LinkedIn say? I don't see it yet, Kelly.
Oh, it just says, it has her at a different one. Director at Arkansas Fire Protection Licensing Board. But I also saw her at like the cosmetology. Director at the Arkansas Cosmetology section. It's changed. She was Arkansas Cosmetology, but then on LinkedIn it says Arkansas Fire Protection. Either one, again, it's dealing with licensing money. Like, okay, Hal, shout out to you. There was a woman in Florida who did the register or licenses for strippers, and strippers really don't write checks. So they came in with a bunch of $2 bills, and she stole like 25 grand. And she said she stole it because her husband couldn't stop spending at Home Depot. So, like, we're
Not
people
at-
that pay our
Not at the strip clubs. He was at home spending it at Home Depot. That would have been like the best full circle ever if you had just said.
That's what I was wondering. I was waiting for it, and then it was Home Depot. But guess what else our person here did? So when they asked her about burning the documentation, she stated that she digitized all the paperwork and no longer needed the hard copies. So that's why she burned it all.
Well, in my irrigation district, that's what happened too. The woman ended up committing suicide. Okay, sorry, but they did not remove her access. They like confronted her on Friday. She came in over the weekend, and they said she destroyed everything. It's no arson, but I think she like digitally destroyed everything and also destroyed, documents. So when you do an investigation, you have to lock them out. Like, it is investigation 101.
I was going to say, this should be user access 101, right? When somebody's terminated, and that's
right.
I know so many auditors that have caught that one not happening.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, you are watching and or listening to the Friday Fraudster, where we talk about fraud cases on Fridays live on LinkedIn, and you can find us on your favorite podcasting platform, as long as your favorite podcasting platform is not Apple. Today, we talked about Crop Goes the Weasel, where, well, some table grape farmers fleeced the government out of quite a bit of money. It was sad. All of those grapes could have been used for some wine. Although I will say, no one asked. I kept saying table grapes for a reason, thinking somebody would ask, what is a table grape? Table grape is not the kind of grape used for wine. It's actually bigger. Wine grapes are a whole lot smaller. You see how much research I put into for you guys. You guys should go over to $7cpe.com and get you a 1-hour CPE just for watching this podcast. Now, our second story for today was the Mayflower mess, where a lady in Mayflower, Arkansas, stole money because she was the clerk at the city, and she was taking money from citizens, depositing it into the bank, doing the reconciliation or not doing the reconciliation. So there were no segregation of duties. This poor woman, no, not the poor woman, I'm sorry. This poor town had a person who not only robbed them blind, but she actually took the, not only did she rob them blind, but she covered up the evidence by taking it out back and burning the evidence. But there's one last thing that she did too, guys. Allegedly, she printed dummy checks for herself just prior to resigning.
Why not? Go out with a bang, right? Go big or go home. Let's see how much.
Casino.
Yeah. That's why I'm not believing that the total amount was 4,000, but I will say they started off at 2 million. Now what they're saying is they think that 2 million is the dollar amount that actually went through the entire county or city system during the time within which she was employed there. But how do you go from 2 million to 4,000? And she burned some records. You know that she altered records. Then she printed some fake checks before she left. But I think one of you guys hit it on the head. How will you be able to estimate the real amount? I don't think there's any way you'll know what the real amount is.
Yeah, but if it's a municipality, you can sit there and go, okay, we have X amount of, property taxes coming in per year. I mean, there's ways you can get a little bit closer to go from 2 million. I mean, I will tell you the best work that there is nothing worse than poor law enforcement work. And you know what? Unfortunately, there is poor law enforcement work, not everywhere, but cops don't become cops to learn how to, track down missing numbers. And so from if they would have gone from 2 million to say even a 500,000, but from 2 million to 4,000, that's
they didn't try. They didn't even try.
Yeah.
Yes.
They just they basically said she stole everything. And it's like, come on. They were paying bills, weren't they? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Hal says dummy checks in one hand, matches in the other. Oh, I tell you, Hal actually makes this show a better show with the comedic element. All right, so guys, I think there's something else that Joe wants to talk about while we're here today. Joe.
I asked Rob if I could have like 2 minutes of your time because I am really bad about doing videos on my own, and we all know how great Robert is at doing them. But I figured this was my one chance to do like a 2-minute video. I work at volunteer for Susan G. Komen, Colorado. A lot of you know my story about breast cancer, being a breast cancer previvor. If you want to know more about that, happy to talk to you about it. But Susan G. Komen, Colorado, we are planning for the More Than Pink Walk, September 26th, which is virtual. You can walk anywhere. We actually had one person come forward in the state of Colorado who has agreed to triple any donations made to the walk today. So it is such a great opportunity that because we're doing a live show today, I just had to plug it, because whether you can give $10, it will turn into $30. If you could give $50, it'll turn into $150. You guys know math. I don't need to do that for you, but I just thought it was an amazing opportunity. If you want to donate to an amazing cause that's really trying to proactively impact cancer research. I'm thrilled that an amazing anonymous donor came forward to do this today. So I'm going to put a link to my More Than Pink team in the chat. And if you guys don't mind donating, if you have the ability to do so, I would be so grateful, because it goes 3 times further today. So thanks, you guys, for listening.
All right, so here's what else we're going to do. After this show is over with, we're going to chop that clip up and we're going to distribute it on LinkedIn. What I'm going to ask you guys to do is just, when you see it, start sharing it, because that's today only, and it is, well,
I know it's late.
It's just 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Was this on your time or our time? Because we still got time left. But no, we have until midnight. So I'm going to post that clip of Joe talking about it probably about 30 or so minutes after the show ends today. We'll see how fast I can do it. I'm usually pretty fast at that stuff.
Thank you.
So we actually have someone saying send the link. That's our buddy Joe with the E.
I will.
Joe is saying send the link.
And I just posted about it on my LinkedIn page too. So if you go search me on LinkedIn, and it should come up at the top there too.
All right. So, guys, this one has been a fun one, a very interesting one. You got to find out how I tried to coerce people to give me wine as a minor. So that in and of itself is probably worth the entertainment. So yeah, crop goes the weasel. Here's what I would ask. If you guys see some stories that you think are interesting and you think we should talk about, send them to either of us or all of us, because we'd love for you to talk about them. If you have a story that you have some firsthand knowledge of, we'd love to have you as a guest on the show. That would be very, very interesting. And if you ever want to be a guest host at some point in time, because we have some stuff coming up. All of us have stuff coming up where some Fridays we may not be available. Send us an email. Let us know. FridayFraudster.com if you want some CPEs, or $7 CPE.com. Also, don't forget about the Fraud Retreat, Joe and Kelly, next year. FraudRetreat.com. Don't forget about Audit Bites, my solo show, coming up next week, next Wednesday. This Wednesday coming up, 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Don't forget about which IA chapter are we going to visit, Joe?
IIA Long Island. I put the link to the event in the comments, so you can go back, scroll back up, find that event if you want those 8 CPE. Not New Jersey, New York.
Joe with the E is going to kill me. Thankfully, this is a virtual event. Joe and I will be doing presentations at this event. There'll be 4 of us. I think I'm leading off first thing in the morning, and then Joe is the last thing in the afternoon. And then there are 2 people sandwiched in between us. We'll tell you who they are and what they're doing next week. Joe says, is that me, Joe? I need my own TV guide. Oh, Heather said, don't forget to have a great weekend, everyone. Heather, thank you very much. And you have a great weekend too. And on that note, Joe is reminding us that it's only $150 for 8 hours of CPE. And on that note, everyone, see you next week.